Morning, everybody. Michelle's here on this Saturday and on a pretty sunny day outside. I'm gonna go out there later, um, take in some sun. Uh, like I slept really, really good last night. I noticed my dreams are getting really, you know, kind of expansive and I really don't have much meaning for them right now, but I'll contemplate and do this and that later about it because that's part of developing too. Our dreams are there's a mystery to our dreams, and I hope to understand that you know before I die. I hope to understand these certain aspects of our lives uh, that can bring some clarity to me, because I've always been fascinated by my dreams too, because they used to be so vivid. And I think I told you guys about my lucid dreams. I mean, knowing that I was in a dream and walking around, touching things, interacting with things. And I can only get so far though in those dreams, because as soon as I started becoming more curious and trying to figure things out, then I would get I would wake myself up out of those dreams. But anyway, I want to talk about something that we that's in the realm of interpersonal relationships, and I always like to interject my experiences and things, because I think that's what we all ought to do, is to inject in to bring in our experiences with things, and give people some guidance as to how to cope as best you can based on experiences, because that's what our lives are set up for. They're set up for experiences, failures, and foolishness and mistakes. That's what it's all about. And a lot of people don't want to face all that kind of stuff. They want to think that everything's so perfect. They want to think that they're perfect, and that they don't want to experience the pain. Yeah, there's some pain with living. Okay, there's some struggles, there's some difficulties. I mean, you can feel the pain all throughout. I know a lot of people like to focus on their heart and the brain, but I remember those are just organs. Those are organs that are part of the human anatomy. But the heart is a metaphor. When you talk about things about the heart, it's a metaphor. You're feeling that energy and something going on right in that region of the heart, and as well as in the region of the brain. But they don't have any special powers. That's all I'm saying. No, nothing supernatural. But we'll get into that later. It's all this these theories and opinions about what the heart does, as far as this supernatural, spiritual kind of thing. To me is just beliefs, really. I mean, because if someone gets a heart transplant, where is all that lead? A lot of people don't talk about that. Or brain transplant, I mean, or injury to the brain. So if your brain is completely injured, does it serve a purpose anymore? So we just have to make sure we are being clear and effective. That's all. And know that the heart is an organ, the brain is an organ. They have a function for the human anatomy, but they don't necessarily have a special power. It's the energy within us that circulates throughout all our nervous system, all throughout all of our organs, that gives us this spark of stuff. But that's something for the scientists and everybody else in the future to try to figure out, hopefully in the right manner, instead of how we are now. All we want to do now is just control people, manipulate, deceive, subjugate, have people submissive, subservient, bowing, controlling us and manipulating us, indoctrinating us. That's what most technology is about now. Weaponizing everything material for the benefit of conquering and capturing, destroying, chaos. I, based on my senses and sensing and receiving, do not pick up any energy of the powers that be in these pyramids want peace and love. I'm not picking that up anywhere. Okay, so that's why it's up to the individuals, for you to think for yourself and try to figure things out on your own, so that you know where you fit in these realities that other people are attempting to create for you. But I wanted to talk really briefly for now about this about love and interpersonal relationships. And I said this a while ago about infatuation versus loving somebody. And I told you, that it's all about love. It really is. Everything is about love, but it's about the, and universal love. But it's about a healthy, a healthy sense and a healthy energy of love. That where it's just that it flows naturally like a breath. No interference and anything. That's what love is. It just flows. It just flows. It just flows. It's not, no one's trying to take it for their own, not trying to harness it, not trying to, bottle it in some type of belief and sell it to people. Where people say, well, look, if you sign up with me, I'm gonna, and pay me this and that and the other, I'll tell you what love is, that kind of thing. Love is free flowing. It really is. It's free flowing. But let me talk about the interpersonal side of it from my experiences. Now, everybody needs to be telling their own stories and giving their controlling their own narratives of how they feel about love. But don't be projecting it, thinking that you are the expert on love. Okay, that's where we run into issues, where we have people that have no experience at all about being in love, or no modeling of love, but yet they want to come out and tell people what love is. Okay, and they have, like I said, have no clue, because they have no real experience. They don't know who, like I said, who's modeled it for you, and they've turned love into some kind of gosh, I don't know, some unrealistic, non-existent, reality. And that's where people get themselves hurt, because, we're listening to people telling us how, like I said, no experience at all about love. Okay, it's really not all that complicated. But like I said, if you have love inside of you, because we all do, per se, but it's how you manifest it. Because you can recognize love, and when you recognize love, you can recognize hate. Okay, but when you're consumed with hate, you will not recognize love. All you do is project what you believe love is by paying attention to what everybody else is doing and what everybody else is saying. And that's what psychopaths, sociopaths, narcissistics do. They just morph into what you tell people that you want in love. But anyway, when it comes to interpersonal relationships, though, that's a stage event. I mean, you got to be going through some stages and some difficulties and some understanding and reason about when it comes to loving another human being. Okay, so this is how I understand it, from my experience, because before I was developed properly and understand, the might of my thoughts, my behavior, my actions, and, and the results, I was probably you know how it is when you have puppy love from some people when you're younger. They call it puppy love. It's like this kind of obsessive, fantasy-driven love for someone, thinking once that person comes into your life, you're gonna be flying through the sky and, living happily ever after. That fake Hollywood love. And like I said, if you're not developed properly, meaning that you're not necessarily always in your fantasies, in your imagination, in your delusion, in your imagination, you can easily get lost in your fantasies. And then what you think is love is actually infatuation. Infatuation where it's obsessive like. It's not neutralized. It's not comfortable. Because I'm sure all of us, as we were developing, made people uncomfortable. being in their presence. They probably say, oh, make people uncomfortable, because that's what happens, as you're developing. You're gonna make people uncomfortable. You're gonna cause people to think, oh my God, that person's weird. Because I can remember when I was I was in these younger ages, and I used to have these crushes on people, and I used back in the day, I used to like to write love letters. How many people used to do that? I used to write love letters to people, and I never forget one time when I was in I can't remember what grade I was in, and I had this little crush on somebody, and I remember writing a little letter about it, and my mistake was giving it to a third party, because you knew the third party is going to read it, but I wasn't thinking. So I remember writing a love letter, giving it to one of my friends, and telling my friends to give it to that particular person instead of, why couldn't I have? But I guess I wasn't confident enough to do that. And so I didn't even think about whether the person I handed the love letter to give to this person was going to read it. And of course they did. Of course they did. And I can remember when the person got the letter, they came around. They were like, wow, really? And so they came around wanting to know, okay, who is this person that likes me like that? And so I remember the person coming through, and that person said, oh, no, I'm not attracted to her at all. I can remember this person rejected me right off the bat. They said, nope. And at the time I was like, oh, okay. And then I knew my friends were making fun of me, right? Because this particular person, he was much shorter than me. Okay, gender is irrelevant, but this person was much shorter than me. And I can remember I'll go ahead and say, he said, nope. I said, okay, whatever. But it was so weird, even though that person said, oh, no, not at all. No. I noticed that person kept, after a while, after I guess I got my heart broken. I was like, well, okay, went on my little way, like I usually do. I can remember, minding my business, going about my life. And it was like months later, or maybe a few months later, I saw this dude, because we all lived in the neighborhood together. And all of a sudden I noticed that he started taking interest in me. I had long gone, moved on to something else. And I would see him at the convenience store. He would be there, kind of standing off on the side, not wanting me to know that he was there. I thought that was weird. Because like I said, I had moved on. I didn't like him no more. How about that? And, they sit, and it's like they kept showing up in my, everywhere I would go, there he was. Da. So I think once he got over, I don't know what it was that caused him to say, oh, no way. He started realizing, well, maybe. That's what I'm assuming. I never said anything more to this person again. It's because, like I said, I just moved on. So my point is this. And throughout my growing up and developing, I'm sure I made a lot of people uncomfortable because I usually like to go straight to the person and say, look, this and that and the other, how, telling people how I feel. And I realized that was probably not the way to do it. It made people, it was making people uncomfortable, apparently. And so I said, well, okay. So yes, I was awkward. I was always awkward and weird and kind of nerdy. And I always felt like, hey, if I need to say something, why can't I just say it? Because like I said, I'm not shy at all. But there's a way to approach certain environments where you need to, make sure you are not making people uncomfortable, and making sure you understand the energy of what's going on. That's why it's so important to be in people's presence. When you are attempting to try to understand them, and kind of relate to, okay, what is really going on with this person, and this and that and the other, and try and do. And as an individual, what I had to do is talk myself out of certain fantasies I was living in my head, talk myself out of certain imaginations and stuff, and say, wait a minute, what's the reality here? And I was asking those questions very young, very young. So my point is that, your life is aligned for you to understand what's really going on. But if you have a lot of distractions going on and a lot of third parties, you're going to miss a whole lot of learning opportunities. And so thankfully with my parents, they had their things going on, and there were so many of us in the house. I think that was an opportunity for me to kind of, in other words, my mom was focused on me a lot of times, but then she had to worry about everybody else in the house. So I think I had some moments of opportunities. That's all I'm attempting to explain. I had some windows of opportunities to understand, okay, how to be appropriate and how to be a developing human being without making people uncomfortable. Because I know I was awkward. because I remember when I was young, I used to ask these questions. Because like I said, I was a visual person, and I saw contradictions upon contradictions upon contradictions. And it used to drive me insane, because I'm like, okay, I'm seeing this, but I'm hearing this, and I'm feeling something else. And I used to want to bring it all together, but then some relatives didn't like that. They said, okay, you need to keep an eye on her. She's asking way too many questions and blah, 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 And so my mom, like I said, my mom used to defend that. She says, well, she'll grow out of it. My mom, she'll grow out of it. Because I was like, okay, why are you saying this? But then I see you doing that. And I was just trying to put the pieces together. But certain adults back then, and probably still now, were not tolerating that. They thought, okay, she's asking way too many questions. Okay. And because, like I said, I'm paying attention to your behavior and action, but you're telling me something else. So it was a lot of work to, there's a lot of work to developing yourself. That's all my point. And making sure you are not staring, because I don't remember ever just sitting there staring at people. Okay, because, I knew that was not allowed, to be sitting there gawking at people, staring uncomfortably. I think my issue was just the questions I was asking. Some people just, and that's understandable. Because like I said, if I saw a contradiction, then I would question it. But, as they say, there's a time and place for everything, right? I guess. Because, like I said, we just got a lot of work to do when it comes to interpersonal relationships. Because, as a young person, you ought to have your questions answered in an age-appropriate way. Or just say to the young people asking questions, I don't know. Okay, and see if you can direct them to how they can figure it out. So, because that's how I had to figure things out, is by, like I said, I'm sure I made people uncomfortable, because I know how I feel when people are making me uncomfortable. I know that sometimes my questioning of people back in the day, when I was a young girl, may have been a little bit inappropriate and awkward. And a lot of people, instead of saying, well, I don't know, they say, well, no, you shouldn't be asking these kind of questions. And I think that's wrong, honestly, to tell someone that they should not be asking certain type of questions. You should kind of be a little bit more clear and effective as to what is that, to find out, okay, why are they questioning? Especially when they're young people. They're trying to learn. My goodness. How can, so I was very thankful that, like I said, things are lined up for me to where a lot of my questions were answered, because I had a godmother. I used to go over to her house when my parents, because, the household was chaotic all the time. Our family household was always chaotic because there was so many of us running around in there, and sometimes we had relatives showing up, and it was just a whole lot of chaos and carrying on in that house. It's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath at one point. Okay, 3-bedroom, 1 bath, and it's almost like 10 people up in there. So I used to go to my neighbor's house, and I call her my godmother, and it was just her and her pedophile husband. I'll talk about that later, and so she used to answer a lot of questions for me when I used to ask questions, and I liked that. Even though she was extremely religious, which I wasn't, but she still answered a lot of questions for me. She gave me a lot of experiences. She showed me how to, how to eat properly with a fork and spoon and blah, blah, blah. I didn't like how she tried to dress me, though. But anyway, we'll go back into that later. Because I was a tomboy. Don't be trying to put no dress on me. Oh, I hated that. But anyway. And she taught me how to sit properly, how to, hold my fork properly. She just taught me a lot of etiquettes and how to, how to behave. She taught me how, she taught me entrepreneurial skills, actually, because she was an entrepreneur herself. She was a hairstylist, and she had her little candy store. I used to work in there in the candy store, selling products with her, going house to house, meeting different type of people, getting experiences and getting exposure to how to behave and act. That's how you learn. It's being around people and watching people and paying attention to people. Because thankfully, like I said, I was visual, so I paid attention to what was the appropriate way to act, what was the appropriate things to say, what the appropriate things to do. You learn that from me. We learn that from each other, So that's why I said no one knows everything. You have to learn. And so it's through making mistakes, saying inappropriate things, asking inappropriate questions, apparently, that's where you learn. Okay, all right, So the interpersonal relationships, and I'll come back to this again, when it comes to loving someone, or the act of love, or the act of infatuation. The act of infatuation, in my opinion, is when you're not developed. But the act of love is when you are developing, because it's a continual thing. A love is a loving. It's a continuing developing of loving. Infatuation is like a spinning of obsessiveness, in my opinion. You're obsessing, you're romanticizing, you're fantasizing, wishful thinking, illusion, delusion about a reality that doesn't even exist. This person does something, as simply as opening a door for you. You think, oh my God, this person is in love with me. You know what I'm saying? It's unreasonable. It's like, what? And you're not getting, it has to be a give and receive. Okay, but in a natural sense, you don't want to be coercing yourself to do anything. The act of love that's what it is. It's an act of love. It's a flowing of energy, and it comes in many forms. You don't have to. It comes in many signs. It comes in many signposts. It comes in many. It just kind of flows through, and it feels good, and you don't necessarily have to do the traditional things. And so there's a lot that we need to know about the energy of love. We were created out of love. So there shouldn't be anything that's you can question certain things or have certain expectations, but it's just a lot that we don't know. And that ought to be inspiring, to know, okay, I don't know everything, but yet I'm learning. It's an ing, giving, receiving. It's a flowing of energy. Sometimes it's in the eyes. Sometimes it's in the sound. It's in how you feel. Sensing, receiving. Infatuation, obsession, it's like you're spinning. You're not, necessarily expanding. You're just spinning. not moving. It's obsessiveness. It's like you're grinding. You're grinding and not moving. Just a grinding force, unnatural force, unnatural interference, that kind of thing. So I hope all that makes sense. There's a lot more I'm going to say about that, but all I'm saying is the act of love is a free flowing, in my experience, loving. You are, you don't need to be interfering. You don't need to be forcing anything. It's just a natural signal of energy that you're spreading throughout to one person in particular, in groups in particular, all over the world, particularly. It's a free flowing, natural, vibrational of energy, and it's neutral. Because like I said, when you have love, you know exactly when it's hate. You can pick up the energy of hate, jealousy, and envy right away. Right away. Like I said, it's the tones, it's the sounds. But hate, has a certain tone and sound in a person's voice. It does, if you're paying attention. Love is the same way. So infatuation, meaning you can feel that something's not balancing right inside of you when you have an obsession and an infatuation with a person, because it's kind of extreme, and radical. And you may start breathing, you have issues with breathing. You may have an anxiety issue. You may have an obsession with other things going on in your life, okay? So we just have to work on neutralizing everything and just letting it flow, letting it vibrate properly. And we don't have to interfere, because love will conquer all. Love can go through over the stars, over the moon, and the mountains. Love is love. And it doesn't mean that you need to be trying to control people, manipulate, indoctrinate them. It is. Love is. It's and it's a free flowing, natural, as breathing, and it feels good. There's nothing tight about it, nothing, constricting, what I'm saying? It just feels good. So that's how I explain love is, and like I said, I have to do it visually, and I hope it makes sense. If not, hey, over time, the right ears, the right, the sound of my voice will, be picked up by those that are in that vibration to pick it up. But love is, you can, the act of love. I know it when I see it. I know it when I hear it. I know it when I feel it, especially sense and receive it. I know it. So that's why I say it's hard to put it in words. But I can tell when people are just using, this kind of book knowledge or this memory, memorizing what they think love is. And it's not, it's none of the crucial aspects of living is that way. Sometimes, like I said, the words can't explain, but have the experiences and at least give your consciousness, your psyche something to work with. And then it'll make it easier. And like I said, and it will line you up with experiences to where you'll understand things a little bit more. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. If not, it's no problem. Swipe, baby. So many people talking. But I hope you enjoyed the sound of my voice. I hope you enjoy what you see, and I hope you enjoy what you felt from what I just said or what I'm saying. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and send peace and love right now. And trust me, I'll be back.